Now, over the course of several years, we all learn a lot. Many of us, we get to pick and choose things that we're going to apply to our own life, and we get to release those things that no longer fit or they're no longer serving. Well, along the way, you're going to run into someone who chooses to burden themselves with a lot of remnants that are perhaps connected to another era. And because they refuse to release those aspects of their life or their identity, they often appear to be more burdened in areas than others. So this means that they attempt to keep a connection to someone who has clearly mentally allowed themselves to enter a new space. Okay? And this begins to show. There's typically going to be a series of emotions that are connected to the identity or the being that's attempting to keep you connected to a persona that no longer serves you. A better way of explaining this is connected to a lyric that I actually wrote in celebration of this moment of realization. And I called it Split Century, okay? Split Century. I was over the 50-year mark, and I realized that my life was simply divided into quarters. And each quarter, some parts of me were dying, you know, they died. And so the deceased parts of me were left in that quarter of my life. And the lyric, I mean, it was so meaningful to me, which it was for me, and it was connected to a sprint learning event that I began to identify with that and use it as I've progressed along in other bubbles. So each, and when I say bubbles, you know, it could align with a quarter or a period of my life. So anyway, my split century lyric, it just gave me a way of leaving residual behind so that others would always be able to relate to process that applied to me. And it seemed some people who were not ready, they chose to make my split century lyric something that it wasn't. Okay, it's split century. It means in this quarter, these are the things that died. I buried those things, those parts of me, they no longer exist. And I ended with let's celebrate. Okay, so we're celebrating me understanding that I'm no longer burdened with the identity that was a part of a certain quarter of my life. The same thing happens when you reach the second period of your life. There are things that you are releasing. And what happens is when people still carry things from a bubble or a period that you no longer relate to, the relationship is strained. Okay? So I am ready to receive on a different level. But now the energies that want to benefit from what I am approaching, um, they are still choosing to release um, this negative, dark energy that is connected to a period of my life that has already been buried. Okay? So every day that you live, some parts of you are dying. Okay? So they died yesterday. You're losing those parts of you. And if you are not releasing them, they can appear as toxins in your life, and it begins to show. Okay, so this person so badly wants to interact with me, and it begins to be something negative. And I'm telling you, there are people who are close to me, people who are connected to us. They went through this similar state, okay? So they went through a similar state, and I do remember um, relatives capturing the state on video, okay? And so it was like they were possessed. And after they have grown beyond that, we can listen to the recording and we can laugh about it now because they have grown beyond that. That part of them is deceased, is no longer with us, okay? So we celebrate. But I take videos, I take selfies, and it is because I always like to have evidence that I can relate to. And there are people who are not burying parts of them that they should not have carried into a quarter that they find themselves in. They are doing things like they're editing my media. They're doing things like attempting to modify video to make what is ageless appear aged. I mean, like, seriously, this is what they're attempting to do. This is why I thought, you know what, I'm just going to just rock this natural, because either way, I'm still the same. Either way, I am the same, okay? And it begins to show. So along the course of my journey, I started PlanAids, and I began to rely on these sprint events so that I would always have some learning that I could leave in a period that I no longer found myself connected to. Okay? So, split century was one of them. I have done a lot of writing. And, people who, again, they won't release parts of their life that will allow them to advance, they find themselves uh, trying to measure you using a measurement tool that doesn't apply to your life. Okay? It is not that you cannot be measured, but what they are using to measure you is really not applicable. You know? So people want you to feel a level of inferiority that they are dragging along with them. And it could be people who are older than you, it could be people who are younger than you, but they are dragging these dead parts of them and they begin to stink, okay? They clearly stink. It comes across in a stinky attitude, a stinky mindset, like a Debbie Downer. I have this person who they want to be an evil person, okay? So they thought that I was going to be this fixer of all of this negative energy. And I'm telling you, I don't care what life people want to live, but to assume that, oh my goodness, I'm going to be able to extract all of this positive energy from the growth and development that they have experienced, and I'm going to make it mine. So they attempted in groups to accomplish that goal, okay? And when they were not able to succeed, meaning I'm still the same, because you fix the inside of you before addressing any exterior part of you, okay? So, and it's very, very interesting, along with everything that is going on socially, and it begins to show. And people find themselves in a precarious situation when they attempt to benefit in a manner that they truly aren't ready for. And that begins to show as well. So when people do that, they always have to return to you for a refill. It's like, oh, I had a full tank of gas and now I have nothing. Or I have powered my hybrid, but I have driven it and I have nothing. okay? So you don't have any way of refueling yourself because you haven't done the development work, and it shows. So you return to refuel yourself from the source that replenished you in a prior bubble, okay? So I remember after I began to experience this tremendous amount of growth, and I saw how important it was for others to have some part of you that they could connect to in your absence. They could always find a way to connect with you or find meaning in the benefit of you, okay? So I started with the correction platform, and it was definitely something that I realized, oh my goodness, this is actually benefiting me cognitively. And I saw how it would benefit so many others. They're going through different parts of their life, whether it's through a cancer treatment, and you tend to have this fogginess, and it leads to you not being able to recall or remember things the way that you used to. I capture these videos as evidence, and it seems to make some people feel a bit uncomfortable because it is like informal research, and it is in no way intended to serve in that manner. It is actually intended to prove a point that should lead to additional research. And me, as a vendor or a solution provider, my lane is that, okay, as a vendor or solution provider. And it begins to show. Well, over the corrective phase, I also learned a lot about how to treat my body in a manner that is fair, okay? You have to treat it. Everybody comes here with this nice compartment that you either abuse it, you treat it fairly, and it serves you for an extended period of time, or it allows you to do more things. I noticed that this negative force chose to their attempt was to, it was almost like destroy benefit of my wellness, and that began to show as well. So I had to take ownership of that part of my life, and again, it began to show in a positive sense. Now, another concern that I have is that people who are operating in another quarter of their life, they feel as though they are in position to make rules or establish these measurements that you must meet. And it is quite ironic because you are looking at them from outside of a place that they choose to remain in, and it begins to show. And it's not that people are untouchable, but it's just that it is a major mismatch. It is just like a child who is attempting to parent the grown up, okay? So you have 6 children. I don't have any children. So because there are things or adjustments that you have to make in your life, I don't have to look like those things are concerns for me, although you can be supportive. And I don't know. So in a prior bubble, something that definitely died, quarters ago, it was trying to be punitive, and allowing others to burden you with their attempts to be punitive. I actually listened to someone earlier today, and they posted something online, and it was about in broad daylight, like someone being, um, I don't know, it was almost like reprimanded or being made to feel ashamed. And it reminded me of a place that I would stand in, but it was quarters ago, and that indeed has been buried. Okay? So people want you to do things that benefit them, and it is quite funny. It is quite funny, okay? Because what you are doing in your life that is beneficial to you doesn't allow them to benefit from you. And this angers them because they are relating to that prior quarter, a period of your life when you were easy to siphon from. Okay? So it was easy for them to siphon from because you valued things that put you in a more vulnerable position. But it's almost like exterminate all of that. You have to begin desiring or preferring differently. And it begins to show. And it makes some people who need that energy from you, who have no access to you, they need it, okay? So they begin to react and they are responding to you in a manner, and they're using things or these jabs that are almost humorous, okay? So they have tried everything in the book to control you financially, and it hasn't worked. So you don't receive from people who are going to use that connection as a way to weaponize a truth that is already obvious.